can get it from the dev drive. So when you do this, you will be able to select a file and go through the wizard process to go ahead and import your existing SVN repository or to archive SVN repository into a new project, for example. All right, so there's another question, which is there a size limit on how big a repository can get? The size limit is based on your plan. So currently, for Pro Edition, every user gets 2 gigabytes worth of overall storage on our system. So if you get 10 users, you get 20 gigabytes. And at the same time, you can buy more storage. Ultimately, there's no size limit. You can go as, if you really want to have terabytes of data, we can do that. One of our customers have about over 700 developers using our Subversion repository worldwide distributed. And they probably have, right now, I'd say 250 to 300 gigabytes of data hosted with us. And we can go up to terabytes if needed. So that just depends on your plan and what your needs are. All right, next thing is I'd like to show you essentially the Codesion Publisher. And Codesion Publisher is a new feature we have put out which allows you to one-click deploy your source code to essentially any kind of target. Okay, I have it set up in a slightly different account. I should show you from that account. Okay, so this is my test account. What you'll see is I have a bunch of a target as well as recipes set up. This is using a very flexible recipe system. Let me just show you the simplest example. So for example, let's say I want to FTP my source code and publish it to my production server. And it's a website. Once it's set up, all you need to do is click Publish. So let me actually show you on my example FTP site. I'm going to hit refresh. And you will see that I have nothing in it. On the right-hand side, there's an empty directory listing. So all I need to do is click Publish. And what will happen is that our Codesion Publisher will go ahead and run the recipe and do an SVN export of your project, and then basically FTP copy it to this FTP site. So let me click refresh here, and you will see that it now has a bunch of test data that just got deployed. Okay? And we have a lot of recipes that allows you to do our sync to a SSH server, SCP copy to a server. We also have the ability for you to auto deploy one-click to Google App Engine or to Amazon S3. So if you are using CloudFront or some type of S3 actually to host your website or to host your static content, for example, you could do that. So for example, if I click Publish in this particular recipe, what we'll actually do is one click, it will go ahead and again do an SVN export and then does an Amazon S3 sync and then publish it to Amazon S3. And if people have other use cases for different recipes, we can create those recipes very quickly. Now let me just show you how easy it is to actually set something like this up. So what you would do is you will add a target. So maybe this is another FTP target. And once you create a target, what you do is you select the recipe that you want to use. In this case, there are two available. One is an SVN FTP, or the other one is Git FTP. I'm just going to use SVN FTP. You can review the recipe. And when you click Next, you will essentially enter the parameters that you want to use for your FTP server. So what the username is, the URL, which would be basically our Codesion URL. For example, and the FTP username, which is your FTP server as well as the host. And once it's set up, basically what you will see that you will have a quick publish button set up, and then you can click publish, and then you'll publish to your FTP server. And we will be iterating on this feature and creating a lot more recipes to really make your life a lot easier when it comes to.
I was like, yeah, we're going to lose 25% next year.
When you actually deploy all kinds of different environments. Okay, that's the Codesion Publisher. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you just very quickly. Hold on one quick second.
Yeah, and we don't, like, the newsletters don't even.
How do I unmute myself?
Oh, that's me.
I know, but how do I unmute myself? Who am I? Okay. All right, sorry about that. I just muted everybody once again. All right, so yeah, let me actually go and show you now that the Subversion repository is actually up and running, and how that will work. And usually we use Tortoise SVN, so I think that this may be familiar, but I just want to kind of go through the process with to show you how this actually works. So the first thing you do is you want to make sure you copy and paste your Subversion repository URL. Actually, let me go back to our test account. So I'm going to use the test1 account that we created. So it's this one right here under demonstration. And with Tortoise, what you could do is you could just do a SVN checkout. And the SVN checkout URL is test1. And I'm going to click OK. Now what that's going to do, you see, is you actually create a test1 directory here. And it's empty because we don't have any files in it. So I'm actually going to create a new file. And once you create a new file within Tortoise, you would essentially add that file. And then I can commit this whole directory back into the Subversion repository. And you'll see that you actually committed the repository into our Codesion repository. And to check that actually happened, you can actually check our internal browser. And you will see that we have the test.txt file already in the repository. Okay, that's how easy to go ahead and start using the system. Now, there's a couple of things with Track and Bugzilla. We do offer these tools. Track is a general purpose sort of project management, issue tracking, bug tracking tool. Bugzilla is specifically for bug tracking. If you are thinking about using any of these services, feel free to add them as part of your trial account and go ahead and log in and start taking a look at them. I'm not really going to go in too much detail. Let me just show you how kind of the login process works. Let me use Track, for example. So when you click Track, what's going to happen is it's going to take you and ask you to log in. And you will use the same username and password that you log into Subversion, to our site, to any of our services, whether it's Track, whether it's Bugzilla. And at this point, you'll be able to create a few tickets, create a new ticket, and so on and so forth. And again, for all these features, I suggest you click through them and take a look, because you can look at them as part of your trial account. WebDrive is a non-version storage. It's part of Codesion, and you can map a dev drive in your Windows board just like a normal Explorer folder, and you can put any non-version content you want up there. And this is useful for a lot of large binary files that you may want to share. With binary files within a source control management system, if you have 10 copies of the binary file, it will usually roughly about